Addiction recovery is often seen as a destination, but in reality, it's a long and evolving journey that demands patience, consistency, and a practical mindset. One of the most important starting points in this journey is adopting a realistic view of what recovery truly looks like. Many individuals begin with high hopes, thinking that with a few weeks of effort or a single decision to quit, everything will go back to normal. But the truth is, recovery doesn't work that way. It's not a straight road. It's full of ups and downs, setbacks, and small victories. A practical approach requires us to accept that healing from addiction is a process that unfolds step by step, not something that can be rushed or forced. When a person begins their recovery, it's natural to feel overwhelmed. There's physical withdrawal, emotional instability, and a constant internal conflict between old habits and new goals. In such times, a realistic mindset acts as an anchor. It helps individuals set achievable goals rather than trying to fix everything at once. For example, instead of saying, "I will never relapse again," a more practical goal might be, "Today, I will focus on staying clean," and then repeating that every day. This kind of thinking creates momentum and confidence without placing the pressure of perfection on someone who is already in a vulnerable state. Another aspect of practicality is understanding that progress isn't always visible. Sometimes, staying sober for a single day in the face of powerful cravings is a big achievement, even if it feels small to others. Comparing oneself to others who seem to be doing better or expecting quick results can easily lead to frustration. That's why it's important to measure success based on personal growth, not by unrealistic standards. One person's journey might involve therapy and group support, while another may rely heavily on family and faith. There is no one-size-fits-all approach in recovery, and recognizing this allows people to find what works best for them without feeling inadequate. In practical terms, recovery also means preparing for setbacks. Relapse, while not ideal, is a common part of many recovery stories. But rather than seeing it as a failure, a practical person views it as feedback. It's an opportunity to learn what triggered the relapse. What can be done differently next time? This kind of mindset builds resilience. Instead of giving up, the person starts again with better awareness and stronger determination. Just like someone who falls while learning to ride a bicycle doesn't throw the bike away, a recovering individual should not abandon their journey because of a stumble. Furthermore, being realistic also involves recognizing the importance of time. The brain and body need time to adjust to life without substances. Relationships need time to rebuild. Trust needs time to be earned again. And most importantly, self-worth, which is often shattered during addiction, needs time to be restored. Practical recovery means allowing this time without guilt or self-blame. It's about giving oneself the space to heal completely, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually as well. Maintaining a realistic perspective also opens the door to accepting support. No one can do this alone. Sometimes, pride or shame prevents people from reaching out. But a practical thinker understands that seeking help is not a sign of weakness. It's a necessary and wise step. Whether it's talking to a counselor, joining a support group, or confiding in a trusted friend, accepting help is part of the real-world approach to healing. In conclusion, when we take a practical approach to addiction recovery, we prepare ourselves mentally and emotionally for the long haul. We understand that recovery is a process, not a race. With patience, realistic expectations, and a steady heart, individuals can move forward one day at a time, stronger, wiser, and more committed with each passing moment. One of the most misunderstood ideas about addiction recovery is the belief that asking for help shows weakness. In reality, seeking help is not only a sign of strength, but often the most courageous and life-changing decision a person can make. Addiction thrives in isolation. It grows stronger when a person hides their struggles, masks their emotions, and pretends to be okay while silently suffering. Breaking that silence, reaching out, and admitting "I need help" is the first and perhaps the most important practical step on the road to recovery. Recovery is not something that happens in a vacuum. It's a deeply human process that involves connection, support, and the willingness to be vulnerable. No matter how strong-willed a person may be, addiction is a disease that affects both the mind and the body. It alters how a person thinks, feels, and reacts. Overcoming it requires more than just willpower. It requires guidance, structure, and emotional support from others who understand the path. When a person decides to seek help, they open themselves to a network of support systems that can offer guidance at different levels. Professional counseling, for example, plays a critical role in helping individuals uncover the root causes of their addiction. It allows them to process trauma, manage anxiety, and develop coping mechanisms that are healthier than substance use. Group therapy and support circles like 12-step programs provide a safe space to share experiences, gain encouragement, and understand that they are not alone in this struggle. There's something deeply healing about hearing the words, "I've been there too." In peer support groups, people learn from one another's mistakes and victories. They form connections based not on judgment, but on empathy and shared hope. These communities help break the shame and stigma attached to addiction, replacing it with a sense of belonging and accountability. This emotional connection can be one of the most powerful motivators in staying committed to recovery. Family and close friends also have an essential role to play. While relationships may be strained due to the effects of addiction, rebuilding trust is possible when both sides are willing to participate in the healing process. Having someone to check in on you, encourage you, or even just listen without judgment can provide immense emotional relief. It reminds the recovering individual that they are still valued, still loved, and still have something to fight for. In practical terms, seeking help also means recognizing personal limits. Sometimes individuals may need medical assistance to safely withdraw from substances. In such cases, detox programs and rehabilitation centers become critical. These are not places of shame, but places of renewal. They provide a structured environment free from distractions and triggers, giving the person a fair chance to start over. A practical thinker understands that taking this route doesn't mean they've failed. It means they're investing in a future that's worth living. It's also important to note that help seeking is not a one-time act. Recovery is full of stages and emotions. There will be moments of doubt, emotional breakdowns, and even relapse. During these moments, it's essential to reach out again. Keeping communication open with counselors, sponsors, or loved ones can make the difference between falling into a spiral or rising again with support. The key is consistency, not in being perfect, but in staying connected. When people ask for help, they also set a powerful example for others who may still be suffering in silence. It creates a ripple effect. One voice that says, "I need help," can encourage another to say, "Me too," and that is how healing spreads, one honest moment at a time. So if there is one thing we must remember, it is this: asking for help is not giving up. It is choosing to move forward with courage and clarity. In the journey of addiction recovery, discipline is not just about avoiding harmful substances. It's about creating a life that supports healing in every aspect. Recovery requires structure. Without it, even the strongest intentions can fade in the face of everyday stress, emotional triggers, and unpredictable situations. Establishing discipline in daily life is a practical and powerful approach that helps rebuild both self-control and self-worth. Addiction often brings chaos into a person's life. Sleep schedules become irregular, eating habits deteriorate, personal hygiene is neglected, and responsibilities are either forgotten or ignored. Over time, this disorganization becomes the norm. One of the first practical steps in recovery is to reverse this pattern by restoring order. Simple habits like waking up at the same time each day, preparing healthy meals, and setting small goals for the day can create a sense of stability. When a person knows what to expect from their day, they are less likely to feel overwhelmed or lost, feelings that often lead back to substance use. Routine doesn't just add order, it gives purpose. A day that begins with a plan and ends with small accomplishments can make a person feel capable again. For someone recovering from addiction, even basic tasks like doing the laundry, going for a walk, or keeping a journal can become victories. These small acts of discipline remind the individual that they are in control, one choice at a time. This sense of control, even in little things, builds confidence and emotional strength. Sleep is another critical part of discipline that cannot be ignored. Many people struggling with addiction suffer from insomnia or poor sleep patterns. During recovery, prioritizing good sleep hygiene, such as turning off screens before bed, avoiding caffeine late in the day, and sticking to a consistent bedtime, helps the body and mind repair. A well-rested person is better equipped to deal with cravings, manage emotions, and make healthier decisions. Food also plays a vital role. The body, weakened by substance abuse, needs proper nutrition to regain balance. Healthy meals don't have to be complicated. They just need to be consistent. Eating on time and choosing foods that provide energy and support brain health, such as fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, can improve mood and physical well-being. When the body starts to feel stronger, the mind begins to follow. Exercise, too, is a practical tool in recovery. Physical activity releases natural chemicals in the brain that boost mood and reduce stress. Whether it's a daily walk, yoga, or joining a local sports group, movement can become a healthy outlet for emotions that once led to drug or alcohol use. The key is consistency, not intensity. Even short, daily sessions can bring long-term benefits. Time management is another area where discipline makes a difference. When a person knows how they're spending their hours, they're less likely to waste time in boredom or negative thinking. Using a planner or mobile app to schedule the day, even if it's just to note meals, rest times, or meetings, can bring a sense of order and productivity. It also helps avoid the idle time that often invites temptation. Importantly, discipline is not about being perfect. There will be days when things don't go as planned, when motivation is low, or when routines fall apart. That's okay. The goal is not to avoid all mistakes, but to return to structure the next day without guilt. Discipline is built over time, and it grows stronger with each attempt, each restart, and each conscious decision to try again. Ultimately, discipline is not about punishment or restriction. It's about freedom. It allows the recovering individual to regain control of their life, one habit at a time. Through daily structure, a person moves from merely surviving to truly living with purpose and clarity. One of the most practical and essential parts of addiction recovery is learning how to recognize and manage triggers. A trigger is anything, an emotion, place, memory, or even a person, that reminds someone of their past substance use and makes them want to return to it. While recovery is about building strength and resilience, it's equally about being smart and strategic. Avoiding or handling triggers effectively can be the difference between staying on the path to healing or slipping back into old habits. In the early stages of recovery, a person is still very sensitive to these triggers. The brain is adjusting, the body is healing, and emotions often feel raw and unpredictable. During this time, being around certain people, visiting old hangouts, or even hearing a specific song can spark intense cravings. It's important to accept that this is normal and to understand that triggers don't mean failure. They are simply signals that something needs attention. The first step in managing triggers is awareness. A person in recovery must take time to honestly reflect on their past experiences. What situations led to using substances? Were there certain emotional states like sadness, anger, or boredom that often pushed them toward drugs or alcohol? Were there specific social situations that made it harder to say no? Writing these down or discussing them with a counselor can bring clarity. Once a person knows their triggers, they can begin to create a personal plan to handle them. Some triggers can be avoided, and doing so is a practical choice, not a sign of weakness. If certain places, friends, or routines were closely tied to substance use, it's wise to change the environment. This might mean taking a different route home, limiting time with certain people, or skipping events where substances will be present. Avoidance is not running away, it's making space for new, healthier habits to take root. However, not all triggers can be avoided. Emotional triggers like stress, loneliness, or even excitement can appear anytime. For these, the key is having coping strategies ready. Deep breathing, meditation, journaling, or calling a supportive friend can help calm the mind and redirect the urge. Distraction can also work wonders. Engaging in a hobby, going for a walk, or listening to music can shift the focus and reduce the power of the trigger. Another important tool is role-playing or mentally preparing for situations that might be risky. For example, if someone knows they will be attending a family gathering where alcohol is present, they can prepare a response in advance. No thanks, I'm not drinking today. Or have a trusted friend stay close for support. These small preparations can reduce anxiety and give the person more control in the moment. Triggers also lose power when they're talked about openly. Sharing one's experiences in support groups or therapy sessions can bring new insights and ideas. Others may offer tips that worked for them, and just speaking about these feelings can reduce their weight. The more a person understands that triggers are part of the process, not a sign of failure, the more empowered they feel to face them. With time and practice, many triggers lose their intensity. What once felt like an overwhelming urge can become a passing thought. This happens when a person consistently responds with healthier choices, proving to themselves that they are stronger than the craving. Each time a trigger is faced and managed, it builds confidence and strengthens the foundation of recovery. Managing triggers isn't about eliminating every uncomfortable feeling from life, it's about learning how to respond differently. Life will still bring stress, conflict, and temptation, but a person in recovery is not the same as they were before. With awareness, preparation, and a strong support system, they can face those moments with clarity and strength. In the journey of addiction recovery, the body heals with time and effort, but the mind and soul require deeper care. Many people focus on the physical side of quitting substances, detox, withdrawal, and medical treatment. But what often goes unnoticed is the inner emptiness that addiction leaves behind. This emotional and spiritual void, if left unaddressed, can lead to anxiety, depression, and eventually relapse. That's why finding sources of mental and spiritual peace becomes a deeply practical and necessary step in the recovery process. Addiction is not just a habit. It often becomes a way to escape emotional pain, unresolved trauma, or feelings of meaninglessness. Once the substance is removed, all those buried emotions begin to surface. Without a healthy way to process them, the person can feel overwhelmed. Developing a connection with something greater than oneself, whether it's through spirituality, faith, or personal reflection, can offer comfort, direction, and purpose. This doesn't have to be religious, although for many people, prayer and faith in a higher power play a powerful role. It can also be a personal sense of peace found in nature, art, music, or quiet reflection. Meditation, for instance, is a tool that many in recovery use to calm the mind. It helps individuals become more aware of their thoughts without reacting impulsively. Even 5 to 10 minutes of daily meditation can reduce stress, improve emotional control, and create a space between feeling a craving and acting on it. Similarly, deep breathing techniques and mindfulness practices bring the person back to the present moment, helping them feel grounded rather than consumed by fear or regret. For those who believe in a religious path, prayer can bring an incredible sense of peace. It creates a moment of surrender, where the person recognizes they don't have to carry the burden alone. It also builds discipline because regular prayer routines encourage reflection and inner balance. When a person feels emotionally centered, they are better prepared to handle external challenges. Another deeply healing practice is journaling. Writing down one's feelings, thoughts, and progress is like having a private conversation with the soul. It's a way to release emotions safely, track personal growth, and remind oneself of how far they've come. Many people find that what they can't say out loud, they can express on paper. Over time, this builds clarity, emotional strength, and even self-forgiveness. Spiritual peace also comes from acts of kindness and connection. Volunteering, helping others in recovery, or simply being there for someone else can create a sense of purpose. Addiction often makes people feel isolated and ashamed. Acts of service replace that isolation with connection and value. It reminds the individual that they are more than their past, that they have something meaningful to offer the world. Another practical source of peace comes from spending time in nature. A walk in the park, sitting near water, or watching the sky can be surprisingly powerful. Nature doesn't judge or rush. It offers quiet space for the mind to breathe. It helps people slow down, reflect, and reconnect with life's simple, grounding truths. It's also important to remember that peace doesn't come all at once. It builds slowly, just like trust and discipline. There will be days when the mind is restless or the spirit feels low. That's normal. The goal is not to be peaceful every second of the day, but to return to that place of calm more often with more ease. Over time, these moments of peace become more frequent, more natural, and more powerful than the temporary escape that addiction once offered. By nurturing the mind and soul with intention and care, recovery becomes more than just avoiding substances. It becomes a full transformation. A person learns not only to live again, but to live with purpose, balance, and inner strength. In addiction recovery, there's a strong desire to move forward, to close the chapter on the past and step into a new life. But true healing often requires us to look back, not to dwell on mistakes, but to understand them. Reflecting on past experiences and learning from them is not about self-blame or regret. It's about gaining the wisdom needed to avoid repeating old patterns. This is one of the most practical and empowering approaches in recovery because it transforms pain into guidance and failure into growth. Addiction doesn't happen overnight. It usually develops over time, shaped by circumstances, choices, and emotional wounds. When a person takes time to reflect on what led them down that path, they begin to uncover valuable insights. What were the warning signs they ignored? What emotional needs were they trying to meet? Were there specific life events, loss, trauma, or stress that triggered their substance use? Asking these questions helps the recovering individual see their story with honesty and clarity. This kind of reflection can be painful. It often brings up memories of hurt, broken relationships, or missed opportunities. But it also brings truth, and truth, even when difficult, is the foundation of lasting change. When a person sees clearly how addiction affected their life and the lives of those around them, it strengthens their commitment to do things differently. It creates a deep personal motivation, not just to stay clean, but to live with more awareness and responsibility. One practical way to reflect is through guided therapy. Therapists or counselors can help individuals explore their past in a safe and structured environment. They may use tools like timelines, memory work, or cognitive, behavioral exercises to help the person understand the connections between their past and present behaviors. This process isn't about digging up the past for no reason, it's about finding the why behind the addiction. When that why becomes clear, the healing becomes more focused and effective. Another useful method is writing. Many people in recovery keep journals where they write about past events, feelings, and lessons learned. This doesn't have to be formal or perfect. The goal is simply to express, release, and reflect. Over time, reading those entries can show how much progress has been made. It becomes easier to spot patterns and celebrate the growth that's often hard to see in day-to-day life. Reflecting on the past also allows for forgiveness, both of oneself and others. Addiction often leads to guilt, shame, and anger. Without forgiveness, these emotions can weigh heavily and block the recovery process. When a person honestly looks at their past, acknowledges the pain they caused or experienced, and chooses to forgive, they free themselves from the emotional chains that addiction thrives on. This kind of inner peace is both practical and powerful. Learning from the past also prepares the person for the future. It helps them recognize risky situations, toxic relationships, or emotional states that once led to relapse. Instead of walking blindly into danger, they carry the wisdom to make different choices. This turns their recovery into a thoughtful, intentional journey rather than a constant fight against temptation. Importantly, reflection doesn't mean perfection. The past may still carry regrets, and not all wounds heal quickly. But when those experiences are used to build something better, to shape healthier habits, stronger relationships, and wiser decisions, they become a source of strength. Every scar becomes a reminder of survival and transformation. In the end, recovery is not about forgetting the past. It's about learning from it, using it as a mirror to understand who we were and a map to guide who we're becoming. By reflecting with honesty and compassion, we create a recovery that is not only stronger but more meaningful, one built on lessons, not just intentions.